Hey there, my fellow designers and creatives. Hope you're all doing well. Welcome back to a brand new video on the channel. This is again a very highly requested video. Today we're going to be talking about product metrics for junior product designers. There is a lot to cover. So without any further ado, let's get started. Now, a couple of days ago on Instagram, I asked a question about product metrics, and I'd actually asked people that I wanted to make a video on it and what are the specific questions they have. And I'm going to be showing you the various categories of questions that I've got. And basically, I'm going to be answering all the questions in this video and also showing you a lot of things. There's going to be an agenda slide, which I'm going to show you in a minute and tell you what and all we're going to be learning in this, or you can check the timestamps. So to start off, you can see some of the questions are very straightforward, which is how do you validate which metric plays a pivotal role in enhancing your product. Taking it one step forward, talk about how these metrics and data affect business and revenue. And then as a junior one-man team, I would like to know how to understand which metrics matter the most. So this one is more about understanding how to define the metrics, what are the metrics, and basically the entire structure. Moving forward, we have a couple of other questions, which is how to measure metric as a startup solo designer for projects that did not go live. As an aspiring product designer, I don't know what are the metrics I need to know for the initial stage, how to measure metrics for our personal projects, and is it possible to find impact metrics of a product that is not yet developed. So I'm going to be answering this question as well, but it's going to be towards the end of the video. In the beginning part, I'm going to be talking about this, which is pretty much the main point of the video. And there's another question, which is what to do on a personal side if there are no metrics or data used in design in our company. And I feel a lot of people watching this video might be facing this issue. You're probably watching this video because you don't have enough context and you haven't been taught about these things in the company you're working at. That's just my assumption. So I'm going to be sort of addressing this a little bit as well. So what is this video all about? So we're going to start off by understanding how metrics are defined. And then I'm going to give you plenty of examples, which should hopefully give you a really good understanding of how this entire system of metrics works. Then I'm going to share a mini case study of a project that I worked on at Trade Republic. It's not going to be a case study where I'm going to be taking you through my design process, but I'm going to be focusing mainly on the problem statement, the solution, and the metrics, and help you understand how we thought about it. So this is for the first time I'm going to be showing you one of the tiniest projects that I worked on at Trade Republic. And I'm also going to be talking about how do you tackle these hard situations that you have. And finally, there's going to be a small test for everybody, and I would love for you to go ahead and take up this test. And basically to take up the test, you just have to write the answers in the comment section, and you can read everybody else's comments, and we can start a discussion there, and I'll share my opinions as well, right? So hopefully once you understand all of this, you can go through this small tiny test. Shouldn't take more than 5 to 10 minutes, and basically just answer the questions in the comment section below. So this is basically what I'm going to be covering. Now, this video is not about understanding how to measure metrics. Now, to measure metrics, you have a lot of analytical tools. You're going to have a customer support team. You're going to talk to customers and users, and so you're sort of going to measure it, right? This is not about showing you what are the various tools that are out there. How do you measure these metrics and each different type of metric, right? So this video is not about that. And I'm also going to be using the word data, metric, KPI sort of interchangeably. Overall, they pretty much mean the same, but if you really want to go into the details, you can just Google the differences. But overall, I'm going to be using these three words interchangeably, but I mean the same thing when I use these words, right? And this video is also not about understanding how to make data-driven design decisions. This is not a design-related video. This is not about taking your design process and things like that. This is all about understanding what are the metrics that we have to consider when coming up with solutions and what are we supposed to measure, right? So to make this very clear. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, I'm going to be taking the Avengers and the Marvel Cinematic Universe as a little bit of an example to sort of set context so that it's easier to understand. I like usually talking about superheroes and Marvel and things like that. So hopefully this makes sense. So for those of you who know, this is basically Nick Fury. He's the one who is in charge of, basically the entire thing. He's in charge of S.H.I.E.L.D. And he runs the organization, right? He's basically sort of the CEO of the company, right? Now, Nick Fury's job is primarily to determine what are the company goals. So every company has certain set of goals, and I'm going to talk about what these goals can be in a bit. But he is the primary person who decides what are the company goals. Why does S.H.I.E.L.D. exist? Or, if you are a CEO of your company, you should know why your company exists and what do you want, right? And then to achieve these goals, you then come up with company level metrics. And I'm going to give you examples of this as well, right? So you know what you're trying to achieve. And now in order to achieve that, you need to measure certain metrics. And if these metrics are moving in the direction that you want, maybe you want to increase something and maybe you want to decrease something. If that is working, then you're going to achieve your company goals, right? So this is basically Nick Fury's job. Then you have Captain America and, Hulk and, Iron Man. Now, if you've seen all of the movies, these are the guys who sort of are closely talking with Nick Fury and they are sort of defining how to achieve these goals. They are the ones who are sort of coming up with a roadmap, with a plan. They decide the strategy, right? So these guys are basically like the product managers in your company and they're primarily responsible for identifying problems. So in order to go ahead and improve the company level metrics, you need to identify some problems that have to be solved, right? So these people are primarily your product managers who are going to do this job. Now, of course, designers also go ahead and identify problems, but most of the work that is being done is done by these product managers. And they are the ones who create something called as a PRD, which is a product requirement document with all the information that designers need to solve the problem. And these guys, right, Spider-Man, Hawkeye, all of these guys are pretty much the executioners. They take the problem, they understand what is the goal, and then they go ahead and solve the problem, right? This is us. We are designers, right? So our job is to create solutions. Now, of course, it is a collaborative effort. Solutions and identifying problems pretty much is done by both people, product managers and designers, but designers are the ones who usually execute and create the solution, right? You will get some help from product managers, but in the end, it's your job to create the solution, right? So that's pretty much the role of product designers. And then now coming back to these guys again, once the problem is solved, then you go ahead and measure the solution, right? Did it work? Did it not work? You introspect. If it didn't work, you go ahead and come up with something else, right? So, but measuring solutions, again, a job for both product designer and a product manager. Of course, product designers are not required to, use analytical tools. I mean, if you use it and you know how to use it, well and good, but companies don't really demand that skill from you. So it's okay if you don't know how to use, Mixpanel and Google Analytics and things like that, but you need to be aware of the fact that your solution worked or your solution did not work, right? And then you go ahead and iterate the solution if it didn't really work, right? So this is pretty much how the entire structure is, right? And now we're going to go into the details. So coming back to Nick Fury. He's the one who decides what are the company goals, right? Now, essentially for every company in the world, there are 3 types of goals. So first you have the objective to increase the revenue of the company. The second one could be to save costs. Now, increasing revenue and saving costs are not fully related to each other, right? Because we're not talking about profitability, we're talking about increasing revenue and then saving costs. And the third one is growth and expansion. Now, I'm not saying that every company is going to go ahead and pick one of this. There's going to be multiple stages. Goals can keep changing. There's going to be multiple stages for each company, and you might be focusing on 2 goals at a time, or 3 goals at a time. You might not be focusing on just one goal, and it totally depends on the company, the structure, the stage, the money, the amount of money they have. And a company can even have multiple product lines or multiple verticals, and each vertical of that company might have a different objective, right? Let's say, for example, over here in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, you have the X-Men, you have the Fantastic Four, you've got the Defenders, you've got the Avengers, right? All of them may have different goals, right? But it's one company. The company has multiple goals, and there might be a dedicated set of team that's going to be focusing on that one goal, right? So let's take a few examples over here, right? Let's take Uber, right? Today, Uber has a very big market share, and their primary objective is to increase revenue. Of course, I'm making a lot of assumptions over here. Of course, I've never worked for Uber, nor do I know how decisions are made in Uber. But I believe that Uber is just trying to maximize revenue as much as they can because they've got a really good market share. Companies like Swiggy, they're primarily trying to save costs. Yes, they also want to make money. That is also an objective, but they are at a stage where saving costs is more important because they are moving towards profitability. They want to go for an IPO. So if they have to reach profitability, they have to save costs rather than getting revenue, because it's easier to save costs sometimes rather than trying to increase revenue, right? So Swiggy is a company that might be in the stage. Of course, I'm making claims over here and assumptions, but I don't really know. But this is just my understanding. And then you have companies like Cred, who is focusing on growth and expansion, getting all new customers, expanding, collecting data from people. Their primary goal isn't really to make revenue or save costs. And as you know that they're not really big on saving costs. They spend a lot of money on marketing. So increasing revenue might be definitely one of their secondary goals, but I think growth and expansion is probably the most important goal for them. If you take smaller companies, even let's say like ADP List, right? ADP List, I'm sure everybody has heard of it. They also focus on growth and expansion, right? Now they've slowly started to monetize, but until now, ADP List was in a place where they were just acquiring more mentors and mentees onto the platform, right? So all the things that they worked on were focusing on growth and expansion and not really generating a lot of revenue. Now I got this one more question where we're talking about how to measure impact if the product is seasonal or influenced by marketing. Right? So in this case again, right, this is a very detailed question, but here the whole point is around what is impact for you, right? When you say how to measure impact, what is impact for you? And again, it comes down to this. Is impact increasing in revenue? Is impact saving costs? Or is impact growth and expanding, reaching to more number of people, solving a problem for more number of people? What is impact for you, right? It doesn't matter who is doing it. It doesn't matter if it is seasonal or influenced by marketing, right? As long as you're able to reach these goals by moving the metrics, I think you should be fine, right? That should be impact for you. And like I said before, you might have multiple teams, right? For example, Captain Marvel is from the Avengers, Wolverine is from X-Men, Daredevil is from the Defenders, and the Human Torch is from the Fantastic Four, right? But all of these belong to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. They're all sort of, Now, of course, I'm just taking this as an example, and I'm not trying to make an exact one-to-one correlation, but you see that all of these teams have their own members, and they work within the teams and sometimes collaborate with other teams to achieve pretty much the same goal that they have, right? The whole point is multiple teams can be in charge of increasing the same metric or multiple metrics, right? It's not just that one team is going to be dedicated to one metric. There's one metric or one goal that can be solved by multiple different types of teams. All right, so now I'm going to take you through a couple of examples to help you understand. We're going to be looking at Airbnb, Uber, and also a couple of examples from Trade Republic as well. So hopefully you guys can learn a lot from it. Now, let's start with Airbnb. Now, if we start with the company goal, let's just assume that Airbnb wants to increase revenue, right? The other two goals were reduction in cost and growth and expansion, right? So let's say they want to increase revenue. Now, one of the KPIs that they might have is to increase bookings, right? So this is going to be one of their most important KPIs because bookings is directly related to revenue, right? So the more bookings you make, the more revenue Airbnb makes. Now, if increasing bookings is a primary KPI, we need more KPIs as well to narrow this down. What does that mean? So now the question is, how do you increase bookings? Do you get in more users to the company, or do you increase the number of listings so that users have more choices to make? Because maybe they're not satisfied with the number of listings that are there, or they're not able to find a place of their own, and they're pretty much bored of the same things that are there, and maybe they want more, right? So maybe you can increase the number of listings and maybe that will increase bookings, or you bring in more users to the platform and make them use the app, and then they can go ahead and make more bookings. Now, each of these two are two separate KPIs, and they're going to be two separate teams to do it. Now, either you can focus on getting more users, or you can focus on increasing the listings, or you can do both. Now, the company is going to decide that, right? Depending on a lot of factors, which are not relevant for this video, but they are going to go ahead and look at a lot of factors and decide where to spend their time and energy on. So coming back, so you have the company goal, you've got the primary KPI, which is increasing bookings, and the secondary KPI is it to increase the number of users or basically onboard new users, or is the secondary KPI to increase the number of listings, right? Now the question is, now let's say we go with users. We can still break that down even further. Are they going to go ahead and acquire new users, or are they going to solve the problem for existing users and help them make more bookings? There are two ways to solve this. Now, this could sort of be a tertiary KPI, right? The first KPI was booking, second KPI was users, and now the tertiary KPI could be new users or existing users. Typically, in this case, we can still say that there are two KPIs, primary and secondary, and there is no tertiary KPI. But it doesn't really matter if there are 1 KPIs, 2 KPIs, or 3 KPIs, right? It doesn't really matter. But you need to understand the flow. Because let's say you try to solve something for existing users. When you solve something for existing users, it's going to increase in bookings, it's going to increase in revenue. But if you acquire more users, it's going to increase booking and it's going to increase revenue, right? So this connection is happening. Now, there's this YouTube channel called as Exponent, and they have a lot of these videos of PM mock interviews. Now, of course, we are not product managers, we are product designers, but still understanding how to think like a PM is very important, because at the end of the day, we're called product designers and not just screen designers, right? We're called product designers for a reason. So to understand, if you have to increase Airbnb bookings, how would you go about and do it, right? Of course, it's impossible to come up with a solution because you actually need to be a PM at Airbnb and have all the information and data to make decisions. But the question is, how do you approach it? Now, I'm going to take an example over here where Brian Chesky, who's the founder of Airbnb, always goes ahead and posts updates to the Airbnb app, on a regular basis. I think he does it every quarter, right? And this is just one of the screenshots, right? So here, he's saying we're doing 4 things to improve the quality of Airbnbs and help you understand what you're going to get. It's hard to distinguish between good Airbnbs and the best of the best. Now you can. Starting in May, you'll see the percentile rank for every home in the top 25 and get a top one, and the top 1% get a trophy. Now, if you see over here, something that's very important to understand is that he started by explaining the feature with the problem that he's trying to solve. This is how you need to communicate as a product designer. Now, of course, he's not a product designer, but this is how product designers need to communicating. He spoke up with the problem statement. It is hard to distinguish between good Airbnbs and the best of the best. Once he then explains the problem statement, he then goes to explain the solution, which is starting in May, you'll see the percentile rank for every home in the top 25%, right? So you can see that this home is in the top 1% worldwide based on ratings, review, and relatability, right? So if you go to his account and you just scroll his feed, you're probably going to see a lot of these things. And this is very important to understand why a feature exists and what is the objective of this feature. Next example, let's take a look at Uber. Now, Uber, let's say they want to increase revenue. All right. Now, one of the ways is by reducing the ride cancels. What does this mean? So obviously, Uber makes revenue when a ride is completed, right? But a lot of people are canceling rides. Right? So the company wants to reduce the ride cancels. Now, this can be a primary KPI because this is directly linked to revenue. This is not about making more bookings. Yes, they can do things to increase the bookings, but they also see that there is a very high number of ride cancels. And so they want to reduce that number. So in the Airbnb example, we looked at increasing bookings. Here in Uber, we're looking at the opposite of that. I mean, technically it is the same, but it's more like reducing a KPI, not just increasing a KPI. Now, if this is the primary metric, we'll now go look at the secondary metric, which is, should you reduce the rider cancels or driver cancels? What does this mean? Now, a rider who accepts a ride might cancel it after it's accepted. Or basically once a driver has been assigned to a rider, they will cancel it. Or it could be the driver who accepted the ride but then decided to cancel. Now, how we're going to solve this is a totally different question, and that's not what this video is about. But if you see here, you've got a primary goal, then you've got the company goal, then you've got the primary KPI, and then you've got the secondary KPI. Now, there's going to be a separate team who's going to focus on rider cancels, and there's going to be a separate team that's going to focus on driver cancels, right? So this is how you need to start thinking about metrics. Every feature or every problem or every solution solves more than one metric, right? So if you solve for driver cancels, you are going to eventually obviously reduce driver cancels. You're going to reduce the overall ride cancels, and then that will lead to revenue because that ride got accepted and you are going to make money from that ride, right? Let's take another example of Trade Republic, right? Now let's assume Trade Republic is in the growth and expansion phase because it's a small startup and there is a lot of work to be done, right? So the objective here is to acquire more customers and expand. And this could be done in multiple ways. How do you get more customers and grow is a very big question. And this could be done in plenty of ways, right? Now, how do you acquire new customers? There are plenty of ways you can do. You can introduce new products or services. You can go ahead and do marketing. Or you can do something which is by increasing the referral rate, right? Now, this is one way to get more customers. Now, why does a company want to increase referral rate? Now, I want to make something very clear that this is all just an example, right? I'm not telling you this is how we do this. This is how we make decisions at Trade Republic, but I'm giving you just an example. So here we have the company goal. We've got the primary KPI, and then we've got a secondary KPI. Now, the question is, why does this company want to increase the referral rate? Why do we want to increase the referral rate? Right? Why do we not want to spend money on marketing or introduce new products or services? I mean, we can, right? And we do. But why would this be a reason for the company to do? Now, if we make an assumption where we understand that users coming through the referral use the product more. So if somebody is coming through a word of mouth, it means that they really want to use the product, and there are high chances that they are going to use the product more. So because of this assumption, we want to go ahead and improve or increase the referral rate, right? Now, this save costs due to low customer acquisition costs, are also called as CAC. Basically, to acquire a customer, when you spend money on marketing, you are actually spending money. And because of that, users are coming. So there is a cost acquired to acquire every customer. But when you do through a referral program, you are actually saving costs because you did not spend any money as the company to acquire this customer. Your customer referred another customer. That was it, right? Now, the only cost is basically the small referral bonus that you're going to provide to the user. So there is some cost, but it's not going to be as high and steep as marketing costs. And because of this, there are also high chances of being an active user. That is something that we already know. So when people are coming from a referral program, there are high chances of them being an active user, and it also reduces costs. Now, we want to ask the question, why are users not referring, right? Now, maybe they are referring enough, but we want them to refer more, or maybe they're just not referring as per our expectations, right? So they're either not meeting our bar, or they're meeting the bar and we now want to raise the bar. Now, let's assume that we want to go with this direction where we want to solve the problem for users are not referring as per us. So now let's take an example, right? Now, today we have a different solution in the Trade Republic app. But if you have used Trade Republic, and if you are from India, you're not going to have access. But if you are from Europe, most likely that we support one of those countries that you're in. But anyway, so if you see over here, this is my profile. And here I have a banner, which is the referral banner. Tapping on that gives me the instructions. So basically I have to share my link. Then my friend starts investing within 21 days. And then I get my bonus of 50 euros worth of stocks, right? So you get your 50 euros once your friend completes all the above steps. So they have to start investing. And then I tap on invite. I get a basic share sheet and then we invite, right? Now this is the current experience. Now the question we have to answer is, why are users not referring? And there could be many reasons for that. Let's take a few examples. Let's say reason one, users are unaware of the referral program. Maybe they don't even know the referral program exists. So the number of people who are referring is very less, right? Now, who's going to solve this problem? Design team or marketing team are going to solve this problem. The design team is going to say, hey, we're going to make it more discoverable in the app. Or the marketing team is going to say, hey, we're going to run campaigns and we're going to let people know there is a referral program. So there are two ways of solving this problem, the design team or basically the marketing team. So this is one way of solving the problem. Now, if we come back to the structure that I spoke about before, which was company goal, primary KPI and secondary KPI, there's another way to look at this as well, right? And I'm going to reverse the order a little bit, but also it means the same thing. I'm going to start off with a definition like this, where we start with a feature KPI. Then we have a product KPI or a team KPI. It can be used interchangeably depending on the context. And then you have the company's KPI and then you have the company goal. So rather than saying primary, tertiary, I'm going to start with feature KPI, product or team KPI, company KPI, and then that is the company goal. So this is basically like the structure, right? If you improve the feature KPI, you're going to improve the team KPI, and then you're going to improve the company KPI accordingly, and then you're going to improve the company's goal, right? Now, one of the solutions is increasing in discoverability. If you make discoverability of the referral feature more, then that's going to increase in the referral rate, right? And then you're going to increase in the new active customers, right? So because of referral rate, you're going to increase in new customers, and these are going to be active customers because that is our assumption. And we are making this assumption that because we saw the data saying that when people referred somebody, those new customers were active users, all right? And then this will lead to growth and expansion. Now, the second reason, the bonus is not exciting enough. The thing is, maybe people are referring, but maybe the bonus is not enough for them, right? The reward or return on investment for referring is not enough. So who's going to solve this problem? Of course, it's the product team. Now, of course, typically a product team consists of product managers, designers, and engineers. But here I'm focusing specifically on product managers. They are given a budget. They are going to do the calculation. They are going to do the analysis and estimation. And they are going to decide whether they should increase or decrease or, change the bonus or offer more things. I don't know, right? This is their job to figure out. But this could be another reason. And this will increase in the referral rate when you increase the bonus or you make the bonus more exciting. And again, you're going to increase new customers and then growth and expansion. Now here you can see that there is no discoverability thing. So in this case, there's no really a feature KPI. It's more of increasing the bonus is going to increase the referral rate, increase in new customers and growth and expansion, right? So here there's no feature KPI, but it's more of a product KPI or a team KPI. And then the company KPI and then the company goal. Let's look at another reason. People are not referring because they have questions about the referral program, which means they want to refer, but they don't understand it or they have some questions about it. Now, who's going to solve this problem? Now, in this case, design is going to solve the problem or a product is going to solve the problem. What does this mean? Now, maybe the instructions that are there are not explained to users in an easy way and they don't understand exactly. So through communication and design, we solve it. Now, how would products solve it? Maybe the whole referral system is so complicated and confusing that they want to simplify the referring experience. Maybe they want to make the steps simpler. Maybe they want to reduce the number of steps, right? So that product designers are not really going to decide how the referral program should function. That's going to be done by product managers. And then communicating those instructions to the users is what product designers are going to do. So this problem could be solved by design or product or both. Right? Now, what this does is this reduces the CS tickets. By solving the problem, we will see a reduction in customer support tickets because that is where we are getting to know that customers have problems. So when we solve the problem, when we make the referral program simpler or we go ahead and communicate it better, people are going to have less questions and that is going to be a reduction in the customer support tickets. Now, this is going to reduce the cost for the company as well because solving tickets is definitely cost for the company. You need to hire agents and it's time, people work on an hourly basis. So a lot of this could have been solved in the app, but is being solved by the customer support. So solving this is going to reduce the cost for the company. Then this will increase the referral rate because now people understand the referral system more. They're going to increase the referral rate. And that will obviously increase in new customers. And then that will lead to growth and expansion, right? Now, reduction in cost is also sort of a byproduct of growth and expansion. Now, the objective was not to reduce cost, but it is one of the initiatives, right? So this reduction in customer tickets not only increases the referral rate, but it also reduces cost, which are two separate KPIs. See, increasing in referral rate is going to be handled by the growth team and reduction in cost for the company is going to be handled by the customer support team, right? Their job is to reduce cost. That is their KPI. But the growth team's KPI is increasing in the referral rate. So by solving one problem, you're changing two KPIs for two different teams, right? And that's how you need to think about all this. Let's look at the fourth reason. Now, there are errors with the referral code or link. Maybe there is some deep link issue. Maybe there is some problem validating the referral code. Maybe there is something that's going wrong. People are referring, everything is fine, everything is simple, but there is some problem with referring using the referral code, right? Now, this is going to be solved obviously by the engineering team. They need to go back and look into their code. They need to do tests. They need to do some QA. And then they have to figure out how to solve this problem, right? Of course, product managers are not going to look into this or designers, right? This is completely an engineering team, right? Now, this will reduce in customer support tickets because people are going to complain, hey, I used my referral code, I referred, but I didn't get my bonus. My friend did not get his bonus. What's happening, right? So this is going to reduce in customer support tickets. This is going to reduce in cost, increase in referral rate, increase in new customers, and then growth and expansion for the company, right? The point to understand is that you are never moving a single metric ever. You're always moving more than one metric or KPI, right? And each team has their own KPIs. Customer support has their own KPIs. Engineering has their own KPIs. Product has their own KPIs, right? So each team has their own KPIs and they have to move those metrics, right? Now let's take an example of a real problem. Now the problem statement is too many customer support tickets of inviters asking about the referral and bonus status. So what's happening here is the post referral experience. Customers have invited new customers and the new customers are onboarding. And now these people who invited are asking about the referral bonus status. Hey, I invited someone. What is happening to my referral and bonus status? I want to know what is happening. Why haven't I still gotten my bonus yet? Right? So now that is something that we are getting to know based on customer support tickets. So coming back to how the solution was. So this is what it was, where you had a banner, then you have a screen with the instructions, and then you have this. That's about it. So now we went ahead and changed it. Now the new solution is when you tap on the banner, now you see this screen where you have invite friends and earn rewards. You get to see how many people you've invited successfully and how many people you earn. And you can also see the status of the person, right? So you can see that for this person who is Parker, it expires in 3 days, right? Because you have to complete the steps within the first 21 days. You get a bonus of 50 euros. And here Emily as well. And when you tap on Emily, you can see what Emily has to do. Emily is the friend that I invited, right? So there's a bonus that's pending. Once Emily completes all the steps, you will receive 50 euro worth of stock. And then now Emily has completed the step and now Emily has to complete this step, which is add money and then make 2 investments, right? Now, although this is a small feature, it can have a very big impact. Now, of course, there are a lot of edge cases where what if I have never referred before, right? What if I have expired, completed, ongoing? How does that screen going to look? Here's an example where the bonus was earned. So Emily completed all the steps and I earned 30 euro worth of Nike stock on so-and-so date and Emily completed all the steps. And if Emily did not complete all the steps within the first 21 days, the bonus has expired, where Emily created an account, but she did not add money and she did not make 2 investments. And she did not complete all the required steps before 24th August. So here, the customer knows why they got a reward or they did not get a reward and what is the status of the reward. So they will not talk to the customer support agents and ask questions. And that will definitely reduce cost for us, right? So this is going to reduce in customer support tickets and this will help us allocate more time to solve other tickets, right? Other more important tickets. And this will lead to a better customer satisfaction score. CSAT is basically customer satisfaction score. Now, because you are able to allocate more time to other tickets, you are able to solve more tickets faster. You are able to allocate more people to solve those important tickets. And of course, that would definitely lead to a better customer satisfaction rate because you are solving tickets faster. And when I say other tickets, I'm talking about other tickets that are not related to the referral tickets. This is about any other thing that requires more attention, right? And this definitely will reduce the cost for the company. So here, the goal was about cost reduction. While that might not be the primary KPI, it is still an important KPI for the company to reduce cost, right? And now, even though the customer support's KPI was to reduce customer support satisfaction tickets and better CSAT, the product team also is sort of responsible for that. So the product team, along with designers and engineers, are going to solve the problem for the customer support team, right? So here we are sharing KPIs. So here there is no such thing as a feature KPI. It's a product KPI, which is a reduction in customer support tickets, which will reduce the cost for the company, right? Now, there's another way to look at this, right? If we implemented this solution, we could have checked 2 things, which is screen views and CTR, right? What does that mean? So are people looking at this screen or are people looking at this screen, right? And are people tapping on this to view this? Now, screen views and CTRs are basically feature level KPIs, right? Adoption rate, screen views, click-through rate. All these are feature level KPIs, right? Now, we are not measuring feature level KPIs because the moment we see that there's a reduction in the customer support tickets, that is enough to validate that this feature worked. We don't have to measure the click-through rate and this, right? If customer support tickets reduced for this particular problem that customers are facing, that means this feature worked. And that is how you measure impact. Now, moving on to the next part. There's also a lot of questions around how to measure metric as a startup solo designer for a project that did not go live. As an aspiring designer, I don't know what the metrics are for the initial stage. How to measure metrics for our personal projects? Is it impossible to find? Is it possible to find impact metrics of a product that is not developed? Now, there are two things over here. There is what metrics to measure and how to measure those metrics, right? Now, if I answer one question at a time, how to measure metrics as a solo designer for projects that did not go live? Now, this is the job of the product manager to keep track of the metrics of whatever you're trying to solve. It is their job to measure using the tools that they have. As an aspiring designer, I don't know what are the metrics I need to know, right? Now, of course, by now, if you have seen this video, if you've come here so far, you should know how to identify a metric, right? And it is important for you to know what you will measure rather than how to measure. Your job is not how to measure a metric. It is knowing what metric you will measure and what metric you will move by solving a problem. So this question about how to measure the metrics for our personal projects is not a job of a product designer. And the last question, is it impossible to find impact metrics of a product that is not developed? If you're developing a product, you should know what problem you're going to solve. What are the company goals? So when you say find impact metrics, I don't really know what that means. All right. But even if it is not developed, you are solving a problem at the end of the day and you know what is supposed to happen when that problem is solved, right? Let's say you're introducing a brand new feature into your app that already exists. Maybe not even a product. Let's say it's just a feature that you're introducing. Now, you've not launched that feature, but you know what you're going to measure in order to see if that feature worked or not. That is pretty much the same as, introducing a brand new product into the market. Now, moving on to the next question. What to do on a personal side if there are no metrics or data being used in design in our company? Now, I truly believe a lot of designers, pretty much 80% of the junior designers or 80% of the small companies do not use metrics or data when making design to make data-driven design decisions in their company. Now, one of the things that I want to say is that it is definitely not a good sign and your chances of making a good career reduce day by day if your company is not serious about this and do not make data-driven design decisions. Now, you don't always have to make data-driven design decisions, but when you are supposed to make data-driven design decisions and you don't, that's a big problem, right? Because the more time you spend in that company and the more projects you work on and the less you use data and you make data-driven design decisions, you are going to reduce your chances of making good career because people are going to expect you to have an answer to why did you make this design decision, right? Now, one of the things that I've realized is that working with great product managers is better than working in a great company. Now, of course, there's exceptions to this. But typically, even if the company isn't great, but you work with great product managers who have a really good process, who measure metrics, who know how to make data-driven design decisions, that is always better than working in a great company. Because even if you work in a great company, there are chances you might not work with great product managers. There is a chance of that possibly happening. Because a company can never have amazing people all around. You will have somebody who's limiting. Maybe engineers are not great. Maybe designers are not great. Maybe product managers are not great. Maybe the leadership itself isn't great, right? So it's impossible to have a perfect team, especially when you're in a small and mid-sized company, right? Now, how do you know if a company is actually interested in those stuff? You have town halls and stand-ups where all of this is communicated and the company is aware of what are the metrics that are being done, what are the metrics that were moved in the previous quarter, what are the projects that happened, and how did it improve. Next is about preparing PRDs, right? Then this is a process. If designers have a process, product managers also should have a process of preparing really good PRDs. And PRD is basically a product requirement document, which has all information about what is the problem, what is the context, what is the metric, what are the questions, how to solve it, all links, everything, right? That's a product requirement document. And then you need to have a measurement system. Just preparing PRDs and talking about metrics is not going to help if you're not really measuring. You need to have a dedicated ecosystem and a measurement system and tools and processes to measure everything. If you're doing an A/B test, you need to know which A/B test is going to work. You need to have that infrastructure and system in place, right? This is how you know if a company cares about metrics, right? And if a company is doing all of this, that means this is a really good company to work at. And if a company is not doing this, I would encourage you to push your companies and push the leaders in your company to start doing these things. Now, one of the questions that I got was, how can we evangelize data-based design decisions within the company? So the context here is that this person wants to force the company to start making data-based design decisions, right? To consider that. How can they evangelize? Now, the honest truth is that if the leadership doesn't care, there is not much you can do about it. If the leadership isn't interested in doing it, then there is absolutely nothing you can do as a junior designer in the company. There is only so much you can complain and force and try to prove, right? But if the leadership doesn't care and isn't open-minded and willing to do it, there is not much you can do about it, and it's time you probably make other career choices. Now, finally, to end the video, I'm going to give you all a small test. What I need from you is to go ahead and answer my question in the comment sections down below. I'm sure a lot of other people also would have answered the question, but I would like you to answer it first and then read the comments of other people. Now, the first question is, I want you to define Cred's active user or users. If you believe Cred has one active user, I need you to define what do you think Cred is measuring to say, hey, this person is our active user because of so-and-so reason. It could be one reason, it could be multiple reasons. Or if you believe Cred has different types of active users and both users are important, what do you think those users are, and how are you going to decide that because of these things, we would classify these people as an active user, right? Of course, we don't know what's happening inside the company, but if you are a user of the app and based on whatever you know, I want you to make your best educated guess over here, right? Now, the second test is this, which I showed you before. Now, this is probably simpler because it's hard to distinguish between good Airbnbs and the best of the best. They introduced this feature. Now, I want you to go ahead and think about what are the metrics it is solving in the metric scale. What is the company goal that this feature is solving? What is the feature KPI? What is the primary KPI? And what is the secondary KPI that this feature is solving? How is Airbnb going to measure the success of this feature? How do you know that this feature worked? Maybe they're doing an A/B test where they're testing it. But how do you know whether which A/B test worked? And even if they're not doing an A/B test and they want to go live, how do they know if this is going to work? Or another possibility is that maybe they launch this for 5% of the users. If they feel confident, they will launch it to 100% of the users. So how do you know that this feature worked? If you are a designer or a product manager in that company, what are the metrics you would measure to check that this feature worked? So this is basically 2 small tests for you. And let me know in the comment section your answers, and I would love to have a discussion with you and talk about this. So that's pretty much it for this video, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys really enjoyed it. If you did, let me know in the comment sections down below. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more amazing, awesome content. And I'll see you guys in my next video. So then, take care and bye-bye.